Elias was a boy who lived in a constant hurry. To him, waiting for the school bus felt like waiting for a tree to grow, and sitting through a math lesson felt like 1,000 years. He tapped his fingers, kicked the dirt, and sighed so loudly that the birds in the trees would scatter. He simply could not stand the slow parts of life. On his way home, Elias passed a narrow shop tucked between a bakery and a bookstore. The window was filled with ticking clocks of all shapes and sizes. Inside, an old clockmaker named Hugo was polishing a brass gear. Hugo looked up and saw Elias's restless face through the glass, recognizing the hunger for speed in the boy's eyes. Hugo stepped outside and beckoned Elias closer. From his pocket, he pulled a shimmering silver pocket watch with a glowing blue hand. "This is the Chrono-Skip," Hugo whispered. "Whenever you are bored, just press the crown. The boring moments will vanish, and you will arrive exactly when the fun begins." The next morning in class, the teacher's voice was a slow, rhythmic hum. Elias felt the familiar itch of boredom. He reached into his pocket and pressed the silver crown. Click. The room blurred into a swirl of colors. A second later, the bell rang. The classroom was empty, and the school day was over. Elias laughed. It was like magic. At home, his little sister Clara wanted to show him a long story she had written. Elias looked at the many pages and felt his patience slipping. He pressed the button. Click. Suddenly, Clara was closing her book and walking away. He had missed her story, but at least he didn't have to wait for the ending. Elias used the watch for everything. He skipped the boring walks to the park, the long Sunday dinners, and the slow, rainy afternoons. But one day, he looked at Clara and gasped. She was no longer a little girl. She was much taller, wearing a different coat. He realized he hadn't seen her grow at all. He ran to find his mother, Elena, in the kitchen. She was sitting by the window, her hair now streaked with silver. She looked at him with a sad, distant smile. "You're always so rushed, Elias," she said softly. "I feel like I haven't talked to you in years." Elias felt a cold shiver of regret. Elias clutched the watch, wanting to go back, but there was no rewind button. In his panic, his thumb slipped and pressed the crown again. The world began to spin out of control. Seasons changed like flickering lights. Snow, leaves, sun, and rain whirled past him in a terrifying blur of time he couldn't stop. He stumbled out into the village square, his heart hammering against his ribs. The watch was glowing a hot, angry blue. He knew what he had to do. With a cry of frustration and hope, he threw the watch against the stone edge of the village fountain. The glass shattered into 1,000 sparkling stars. Silence fell. The world slowed down to its natural, beautiful pace. Elias sat on the edge of the fountain, watching a single leaf drift slowly from a tree. Hugo appeared and sat beside him, watching the sunset. "The wait is where the life happens, Elias," Hugo said. Elias smiled, finally happy to just sit and wait for the stars to appear.